Welcome to the deep dive. If you've ever felt like there's, I don't know, a wall between you and truly fluent English, that constant need to translate in your head slows you down, keeps you from really feeling the language, well, you're in the right place.
Yeah, that feeling of being stuck, kind of translating everything, it's incredibly common. And it can be so frustrating, can it? Especially when you want to connect or really get the jokes, the idioms.
Stuff, yeah.
Exactly. All those nuances.
Exactly. But imagine if you could just bypass that mental middleman.
Right.
What if the key to unlocking that effortless fluency, reacting quickly in conversations, truly getting what's being said?
Okay.
What if it wasn't more grammar drills, but something more fundamental?
A real shift in how you approach it.
Yeah, we're talking about training your brain to actually think in English.
Precisely. Yeah. It's about taking English from being this thing you study to being, part of how you process the world.
Like changing the operating system, sort of. Like instead of just learning about a new place, you start seeing the world through its window. And that leads to a much richer, deeper understanding, especially, those cultural layers hidden in the language.
So the benefit here isn't just about sounding better, though that's part of it.
Sure.
It's about a real transformation. English moving from something you learn to just a natural part of who you are.
And that unlocks so much. Confidence, new possibilities, personal growth, even professional growth.
Yeah.
And that's what we're diving deep into today. We're going to explore how our, frankly, amazing brains handle language.
Right.
And more importantly, give you practical step-by-step strategies you can actually use to start making that shift, to think directly in English.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive, it's simple, but it's powerful. We want to guide you in rewiring that inner voice so that thinking in English becomes, almost automatic, like breathing. Okay, let's unpack this. Why? Why is this shift, thinking in English, why is it so crucial for really mastering the language? Well, what's fascinating is the immediate impact it has on your communication, I mean.
How so?
When you're not constantly doing that mental translation dance.
Yeah, back and forth.
Right. Your reaction time in conversations just gets faster, smoother. You can jump in, participate more spontaneously. It feels more direct.
It makes perfect sense. It's like trying to have a real-time chat over a really slow dial-up connection. There's always that lag.
Exactly. That lag. If you're translating the question, figuring out your answer in your native language, then translating it back to English, you're always a step behind the flow.
Right.
And it go way deeper than just speed. Thinking in English lets you truly grasp the nuances, the subtle humor, the idioms, things that translation often just butchers.
Or misses completely.
Totally. It's about getting the intended meaning, not just, the dictionary definition. Like if someone says, it's raining cats and dogs.
Okay.
Thinking directly in English, you get that vivid picture of heavy rain. You don't get stuck on the literal meaning, which is just word.
Right. It's like trying to understand a joke by explaining each word. You kill it.
You lose the essence.
And I remember reading this quote. It really struck me. If you want to speak English fluently, you must first think in English. Thought is the foundation of language. What you think, you speak. What you speak, you live. That really nails the link we're talking about, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Because the language you think in, it actually shapes how you perceive the world, how you interact with it.
Really?
Yeah. So shifting that inner dialogue to English, it's like getting a new lens to see life through. It enriches your understanding, opens up new perspectives.
Okay, so we get the why. It's faster, deeper, helps understand nuance. But the idea of just flipping a switch, making my inner voice speak English, that feels big, a bit overwhelming.
We get that.
Can we look at what's actually going on in the brain when we learn and use different languages?
Yeah, definitely. And this brings us to something really cool about our brains. Neuroplasticity. Simply put, our brains aren't fixed. They're not set in stone. They are constantly changing, adapting, even rewiring themselves based on what we do, what we experience all through our lives.
So it's not like software you install once.
Not at all. And that's super encouraging, right?
Yeah.
It means we absolutely have the power to essentially rebuild how we think when it comes to English. Think of your brain like a garden. Every time you have an English thought, it's like planting a seed. And with consistent watering, practice, it grows into a strong connection.
So it's not about finding some secret English thinking part of the brain.
No, not really.
It's more about creating new paths, strengthening them.
Precisely. Research on bilingual folks shows that different brain areas light up more depending on the language they're using at that moment.
Interesting.
So when you actively try to think in English, you're basically lighting up and strengthening new neural pathways, one specifically for English.
Wow. So every time I consciously try to form a thought directly in English, even if it feels clumsy or slow at first, I'm actually building those connections, physically changing my brain.
Exactly that. Think of it like forging a new path through a forest. The first few times, it's tough going, right? Overgrown, hard to see.
Yeah.
But the more you use it, the clearer it gets. Wider, easier to travel. Same idea. Repetition, regular exposure to English in different situations, actively trying to understand how things are said. That's what builds strong connections.
And you mentioned brain parts, like the hippocampus.
Yeah, briefly. The hippocampus is vital for memory, so it helps store new vocabulary and grammar rules.
Right.
But the main point, you don't need a medical degree for this.
Good.
Is that your brain is designed to learn and adapt. It's ready for this new way of thinking.
Okay, so our brains are on our side. That's good to know.
Definitely.
Now let's get back to that inner voice. How do we actually start making it speak English? It feels so automatic in our native language.
You're absolutely right. It is automatic.
Yeah.
And yeah, those first attempts to consciously switch your internal monologue, they might feel a bit strange, maybe even awkward.
I can imagine.
You might find yourself making more little mistakes inside your head, or pausing more, searching for words. But that's totally normal. It's actually a necessary part of the process. The key is to start small, really small, and be patient.
Small steps. Got it. Like what kind of small steps? How do we nudge that inner voice?
Start with your everyday actions. Simple stuff. As you go about your day, just try describing what you're doing to yourself in English.
Like narrating my life.
Kind of. I'm brushing my teeth. I'm walking to the bus stop. I'm making coffee. Simple, concrete things you do every day.
Okay.
Once that starts feeling a bit more natural, you can expand. Try slightly more complex thoughts. Like, wonder what I should have for breakfast. Or what would I say if my boss asked me about that project?
So it's like giving yourself a running commentary, but in English, inside your head.
Exactly. And this habit, it seems simple, but it's incredibly powerful because it starts linking the thought directly to the English expression.
Bypassing the translation step.
Right. It cuts out that middleman, those filters that can slow you down or even lead to slightly off translation sometimes.
Okay, that makes sense. Our sources also mention a couple of specific techniques, the mirror technique and the shadowing method. Can you explain those a bit? How do they help?
Sure. The mirror technique is pretty straightforward. You basically watch yourself doing a simple action, like, say, pouring a glass of water.
Okay.
And you describe it out loud in English as you do it. I am picking up the pitcher. Now I am pouring the water into the glass.
Connecting the action and words in real time.
Exactly. And shadowing. That involves listening to native English audio, maybe a short podcast clip, a bit of news. And you repeat exactly what you hear almost immediately after the speaker says it, like you're their shadow.
We're trying to match their rhythm and intonation.
Precisely. It's fantastic for internalizing the natural flow, the music of spoken English. And that can definitely influence your internal monologue too.
Both sound really practical, quite active ways to immerse yourself more. Now, you mentioned immersion earlier. People often think that means you have to move to an English-speaking country.
Right, that common misconception.
But what if that's just not possible for someone?
That's a really important point. Because while, yes, living abroad forces constant exposure, which helps.
Sure.
You can absolutely create a very effective English-rich environment wherever you are. Fluency isn't just about grammar books. The sheer frequency of your exposure is just as crucial, maybe even more so.
Okay, so give us some actionable steps. What can we actually do in our daily lives to boost that exposure?
All right. Start with the tech you use every single day. Your phone, your laptop, your tablet, your favorite apps. Change the language setting to English.
Ooh, that feels a bit scary.
It might feel a bit weird for a day or two, but you'll adapt faster than you think. And suddenly you're constantly seeing and interacting with English in a really practical context.
Okay, what else?
Think about your downtime, your entertainment. Make a conscious choice to watch English TV shows and movies.
With subtitles.
Start with subtitles in your own language if you need to, but then try switching to English subtitles. That's a great stepping stone. Eventually, the goal is to watch without any subtitles as your listening gets better.
And what about audio, like podcasts or music?
Audio is brilliant because it's so versatile. You can fit it in anywhere. Listen to English podcasts while you're commuting, cooking, working out, doing chores.
Even if I'm not totally focused.
Even then, your brain is still absorbing the sounds, the rhythm, the intonation patterns. It's soaking it up passively. And reading, of course, reading in English is vital. Start where you're comfortable.
Like kids' books.
Sure, that's the right level.
Yeah.
Or short news articles. Then gradually work your way up to more complex stuff. Books, magazines, websites, whatever interests you.
So the main idea is just make English unavoidable. Weave it into your day as much as possible.
Exactly. The more consistently your brain hears and sees English, the more naturally it will start to process information in English and eventually think in English. The goal is to build a routine where English isn't a separate chore. It's just part of your environment.
This all provides a great framework for increasing exposure, kind of passively absorbing it. But how do we actively train our brains? Like, are there specific mental exercises, like doing reps at the gym?
Absolutely. Think of these as daily mental workouts, specifically designed to build that English thinking muscle. Our sources highlighted 5 really effective ones. First up, 5-minute journaling.
Just 5 minutes.
Just 5 minutes a day, grab a notebook or open a file and just write in English about your day, your plans, random thoughts, whatever comes to mind.
And don't worry about perfect grammar.
Exactly. The goal is flow, getting thoughts out in English. Even simple sentences are great.
Okay, number 1, journaling. What's next?
Second, talk to yourself.
Out loud.
Yep. When you're alone, obviously. It might feel a bit odd at first.
I'm picturing it now.
Huh. But it's super beneficial. Narrate your actions. Okay, I'm opening the window now. Describe what you see. Those flowers look nice today. You can even practice little conversations you might have.
So taking that inner monologue and making it external in English.
Precisely. Third exercise, Q&A practice. Ask yourself simple questions in English like, what would I do if I won the lottery? Or what's my favorite movie and why?
And then answer them.
And then answer them immediately in English, out loud or in your head. It forces you to formulate thoughts and express them coherently right on the spot.
Okay. Journaling, talking to yourself, Q&A. What's number 4?
Number 4 is memory chains. This one's kind of fun. Start with a single word, let's say apple.
Okay, apple.
Then make a simple sentence. I ate an apple. Then expand it. I ate a red apple. Keep going. I ate a red apple this morning. I ate a red apple this morning because I was hungry. You build a little story linking each sentence.
That stretches your sentence building, makes you think in connected ideas. Nice. And the last one.
Visualization. Close your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Picture a place you love. Maybe a beach, a forest, your childhood home. Now, describe that place to yourself in English. What do you see, hear, smell, feel? This connects English to your senses, your emotions, makes it more vivid, more memorable.
5 exercises. Journaling, talking to self, Q&A, memory chains, visualization.
And the crucial thing with all of these,
Yeah.
consistency. Even just a few minutes of focused practice every day makes a huge difference over time. You'll notice the changes.
It's really encouraging to hear that small, consistent efforts add up. Sometimes fluency feels like this giant mountain to climb.
Totally.
Breaking it down into these little workouts makes it feel way more manageable. Now, our sources shared some really cool stories, right? Real people who did this. Aiko and Carlos.
Yeah, these stories are great because they show it working in the real world. Aiko, she's a graphic designer from Japan. She realized that constantly translating in her head was really slowing her down at work, especially on international projects.
Right.
So she decided to implement English-only mornings. For a few hours every day, she just forced herself reading news in English, planning her day in English, writing emails, even talking to herself.
Wow, that's commitment. Was it hard at first?
Oh yeah, she said it felt really awkward and challenging initially, but she stuck with it. And over time, she noticed a real shift. Her inner voice started using English more naturally. She found herself understanding and reacting faster without that constant translation lag.
That's impressive. What about Carlos? His approach was different, wasn't it?
Yeah, Carlos, a college student from Brazil, he did something slightly different, but also really effective. He started recording short, like 5-minute audio diaries in English every day.
Just talking into his phone?
Pretty much. About his classes, his goals, something interesting he read, just whatever was on his mind. A stream of consciousness, but in English.
And he wasn't worried about mistakes?
Nope. His main goal was just expressing thoughts in English. And the cool part, he listened back to his recordings over several months.
Oh, to track his progress.
Exactly. He can actually hear himself getting more fluent, more natural. He said hearing that tangible improvement was incredibly motivating. It just made him want to keep going.
What really stands out from both stories is it wasn't about innate talent, was it? Or needing to move abroad?
Not at all.
It was about deciding to do it, sticking with the practice, and finding ways to weave English into their actual lives.
Exactly. They're like real-life blueprints. They show this shift is totally achievable. You just need dedication, a plan, and that willingness to make English a regular, active part of your day.
Okay, but let's be real. Any learning journey has those moments where you feel stuck.
Oh, yeah. The dreaded plateau.
Right. You feel like you're putting in the effort, but the progress just stalls.
Yeah.
How do we break through those plateaus when we hit them?
First off, plateaus are completely normal. Don't panic.
Okay.
In fact, sometimes they're even a good sign. It means your brain might be busy consolidating, really locking in what you've learned.
Huh. Didn't think of it that way.
But yeah, to break through, you often need to shake things up.
Yeah.
Introduce some novelty. One great strategy is to change your input.
Meaning?
If you usually watch, say, English sitcoms, try switching to documentaries for a while. Or news. If you mostly read fiction, try some nonfiction on a topic you like.
Expose your brain to different styles, different vocabulary.
Exactly. It challenges your brain in new ways, introduces new words, new sentence structures. It can really reignite things.
That makes a lot of sense. Like cross-training for your brain. What else?
Another powerful technique. Teach what you know.
Teach English, even if I'm still learning.
Absolutely. Explaining a grammar point or a new word to someone else, even just explaining it to yourself in the mirror or planning how you would explain it, forces you to organize your thoughts and really understand it deeply.
Okay.
You could even make little videos for yourself. Nobody has to see them. Also, setting micro goals is huge for getting unstuck.
Instead of just get fluent.
Right. That's too big, too vague. Focus on small, achievable wins, like learn 5 new idioms this week, or have one 10-minute conversation purely in English. Ticking those off feels good and keeps you moving.
Small wins build momentum.
Exactly. And finally, maybe join a challenge. Lots of online communities have like 30-day speaking challenges, writing challenges.
Adds a bit of urgency and community.
Yeah, structure, motivation, maybe some friendly competition. The absolute key, though, when you hit a plateau, don't give up. Be persistent. They always pass if you keep engaging with the language. Progress will return.
So stay adaptable, keep trying new things, and trust the process. Got it. Now, related to persistence, motivation, that initial excitement can fade. How do we keep that fire lit for the long haul?
Yeah, motivation isn't a constant state, is it? It's more like a fire. Like you said, you got to tend it. Keep adding fuel.
So what's the fuel?
First and foremost, know your why. Really get clear on why you're doing this. Is it for a better job? To travel, connect with family, study abroad, write down your reasons, put them somewhere visible. When things get tough, reminding yourself of your why is incredibly powerful.
Connecting back to the core reason, that makes sense.
Definitely. Another thing, track progress, not perfection.
You mentioned Carlos doing that.
Exactly. Don't beat yourself up over mistakes. Focus on how far you've come. Celebrate the small improvements. Keep that journal. Record yourself speaking sometimes. Use apps that track progress. Seeing improvement, however small, is huge for motivation.
Right. What else keeps the fire going?
Make it personal. Connect English to stuff you already love. Read into music. Try translating lyrics. Love sports. Follow English-speaking athletes or teams online. Read fan forums.
So it doesn't feel like homework.
Exactly. It becomes part of your fun.
Right.
Also, you can gamify it. Set little rewards for yourself when you hit a goal. Use apps with points or streaks if that works for you. Make it a bit of a game. And finally, create or join a community. Connect with other learners, practice partners, online groups, local meetups. Sharing the journey, getting support, having accountability that makes a massive difference.
Yeah, not feeling alone in it.
Right. And remember, motivation isn't about feeling wildly enthusiastic every single day. It's about consistency. It's about showing up, putting in the effort, even on the days you don't really feel like it. That's what builds momentum.
Building positive habits, making it enjoyable, finding support. Great tips. Now, you touched on something profound earlier, language and identity. How does learning to think in English actually change how we see ourselves?
This is a really interesting aspect. When you start thinking in English, it's more than just learning a skill. You're actually starting to embody a slightly different version of yourself.
How so?
You become potentially a more confident communicator in that language. Maybe more expressive in certain ways, someone more connected to a global conversation. And our sources actually encourage you to consciously challenge your self-perception.
What do you mean?
Instead of always saying, oh, I'm learning English, try shifting that. Try affirming, maybe just to yourself at first. I speak English and I'm getting better every day.
Fake it till you make it.
Sort of, but it's more than that. Your brain really responds to how you define yourself. If you start identifying as someone who speaks English, even if you're still improving, it actually helps accelerate that growth and confidence.
That's powerful.
Yeah. Visualize that future fluent self. Imagine the conversations you'll have, the things you'll understand, the opportunities. That person is absolutely within reach. You're building towards them with every English thought.
It's about stepping into that identity right now and letting it guide you. Wow.
Absolutely. It's recognizing that using English to think, even simply, makes you an English speaker in that moment. And continuous learning is just the natural path forward.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. The why of thinking in English, how our brains adapt, practical exercises, staying motivated, embracing that identity shift. What's the final piece? How do we make sure this isn't just a phase, but becomes a lasting part of who we are?
The final, and maybe most important shift, is really about making English a lifelong companion, not just a subject you study.
Okay.
And a huge part of that is letting go of the fear of mistakes. We've said it before, but it's crucial. Errors are normal. They're necessary for growth. True fluency isn't about never making mistakes.
What is it then?
It's about the confidence to communicate despite mistakes, to get your message across effectively, even if it's not perfect.
So how do we anchor it into our lifestyle long term?
Think about creating deliberate English zones in your life. Dedicated times or activities where you commit to only using or consuming English. Maybe your morning commute is always English podcast time. Maybe dinner prep is when you talk to yourself in English.
Building habits.
Exactly. Keep teaching and sharing what you learn. It reinforces it for you. Keep connecting English back to your big goals career, travel, whatever drives you. Regularly, take a moment to reflect on how far you've come.
Appreciating the journey.
Yes, and maybe most importantly, stay curious. Keep exploring the language. Look up new idioms. Try to understand jokes. Notice slang. That curiosity keeps it alive and engaging, not static.
So it's about building this really holistic relationship with English, beyond just words and rules.
Exactly. It's about becoming someone who genuinely lives in English sometimes, where it's not just a tool, but a natural way you interact with the world, express yourself, connect. Carry it with you not just in your notebook, but in your thoughts, in your heart. Make it a friend, a power.
Wow.
This isn't the end point. It's really the beginning of a new, exciting chapter as an English thinker.
Powerful words. Thank you so much for walking us through all of that. It's been incredibly insightful, this whole deep dive into thinking in English.
My pleasure. It really is a rewarding journey.
Yeah.
And remember, every single English thought you have, it's a genuine step forward.
And to you, our listener, thank you for joining us. Now, here's a thought to take with you. Consider one specific area of your life, just one, where you could start consciously thinking in English more often. What's one small, tiny step you could take today to make that happen? Until our next deep dive.